Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and you guys asked for this god-awful rust test, so I've scrounged up some knives that have problems. They don't work quite right, or I don't care about them, and we're gonna do it. We have a WE 617 that has a handle scale problem that I don't have the scale to fix. And it's in D2. We have a buck, I don't remember the name of it, and it doesn't matter, but it's in 420 HC. We have the Bestech and WE, and I actually kind of like this one, but we're going to put it in the test anyhow, in D2, and a Spyderco 8Cr13Mov Tenacious. This is a piece of 1095 high carbon steel, and all we're going to look at on this one is the blade. I've got it finished out about the same as the others, and it's got fingerprints on it now. I'm going to have to clean it up again. And we have the Walmart knife. This is what I intended to test a long time ago and never got to it. And we have the venerable Y-Start right over here. So, we're not going to do things quite like Zelrick does them. I want to kind of do a step up. So, inside this beautiful black little spray bottle, we have rainwater. Just general rainwater collected here in the Midwest. And whatever contaminants are or aren't in it, I have no idea. But it's just fresh rainwater. Well, not fresh. It's a few weeks old, but just rainwater that I collected whenever it was raining one day. Sorry I didn't get that on film, but I'm not taking the cameras out in the rain. Sorry, guys. And we're going to do this very much like Zelrick does, though. However, this is going to be a process of elimination deal. I've got at least one more level, and maybe two, of corrosion resistance formulas, if you will, to test with. This one being straight up rainwater. I don't know the salinity or anything. I don't know the composition of anything that's in it. I just know it's fresh rainwater. So we're starting there. Why not tap water? Well, if you leave your knife in tap water for too long, you know it's going to rust. We're not going to mess with tap water. We're going to mess with stuff that your knife may actually be in contact with in the wild when you're out there using it. Rainwater's a big one. So we're just going to spray them all down and let them set. I'm not going to time-lapse this because, well, that would be a lot of camera and a lot of lights on for a long time, and I need to do some other things in the shop. So, here we go. Get each one of those blades good and wet. Like I said, this is the rainwater test. I'll probably put that up there on the screen too. And how this is going to work is if I'm out here, whenever I start to see them rusting, then at that point, we'll turn the camera back on. We'll talk about it for a minute. And then I'll clean up the blades. We'll mix up some new stuff and start over again. So there they are, all wet from rainwater. And we'll see what happens. Right now we're at 80 degrees. And where was that other thing? There we go. 49% humidity. Feels like 81, light wind. Chance of rain, but the rain's not going to happen. Anyhow, those are our test conditions right there. So here we are a couple hours later, and all we have achieved is some water spotting and evaporation, and seriously, just water spotting. See, I can wipe that off. Even on the 1095. Just some water spotting. So, rainwater, not effective, or it evaporated before it had the opportunity to be effective on all of the knives. We'll get them all up here real quick. See? So, I'm going to give them a quick wipe. And then we're going to go for standard salinity salt water. And I mixed this up as best as I could to make it about the same salinity as ocean water. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to clean these up real quick and then we'll spray them down. Here we go, same bottle. I just mixed up salt water and put in it. I guess I should have kept an old one, but I've got more of the rainwater. So here we go. We're going to spray them down really good again if the sprayer plays along. Alright, there we go. And I know the Walmart knife doesn't look like it's got any fluid on it, but it has got quite a bit of fluid on it. It's got a bit of a hollow grind to it, it looks like. So it's actually holding a puddle of fluid. And we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to let these set and see if any of them rust. You know, with the salt water, we should see something show, at least on the 1095. And I suspect we'll start to see some coloration on this knife and D2. I don't know where this one's going to color up or if it will. And I don't know where this one will. It's marked D2, but we know about Y start now, so. And the 8Cr13, I'm not sure about it. So I'm going to turn the camera off again. We'll come back and check them later. Alright guys, as expected, our first one out is the 1095. And we'll get a good look at him here. Definitely out. We've got rust spots up here. They're not deep yet, but my idea here is not to kill these blades. It's to hopefully catch them before they get so far corroded that I can't recover them easily on the grinder and stuff. You know, like with a surface conditioning belt instead of having to actually take metal away. So, anyhow, 1095, first one out. And we're seeing a little of possible surface rust on the Bestech, and I'm seeing a few spots over here on the WE, both the D2 knives. Actually, I'm getting a few similar spots over here on the Y start. So, interesting. I don't have an answer for that, but we're going to let them go a little longer and see if I can get something that you guys can see in the camera on these D2 knives. So I'll be back with you in a bit. Alright, we are starting to show rust on the D2 knives. And that's about as far as I want to go because I want to be able to clean this knife up fairly easily. But there you go, I'll wipe it off here. And most of it's probably going to wipe off because it was pretty much surface rust. We still got, if you look closely, we still got some little spots down there. Our WE knife isn't quite as bad, but you can see there that we've got some spots on the WE knife. Give it a wipe. And most of those spots came off. I'll be able to take those off with the surface conditioning belt real quick. Let's get a look at the Y start knife. Now this is interesting to me. On this Y start knife, we're getting many of the same little dots as we're getting on the D2 knife. We'll give it a wipe and see what happens there. If it's stainless, that may all wipe off, but it didn't. We've got essentially what we had with the D2 knives, and I'll wipe them off really good here in a moment. And we got some spots on the 8Cr13 as well. That's from Spyderco. We can be pretty well assured that that is 8Cr13. And it is a little more stainless. Most of that wiped off. Got one dot right up here on the Spyder. And a couple of dots back here, but they're going to wipe off pretty easy as well. Now, the interesting stuff. This thing has been inundated with the salt water for a couple of hours, and we've got maybe just a little bit of discoloration here and there. So, we're going to leave that one. The 420HC from Buck. We're going to leave that one. And maybe spray them down again and leave them overnight. But let me wipe off these D2 knives. We'll get a close look at them. Alright, here's our Bestech knife. Still got some little dots here and there. But overall, we saved it before it got real bad. Have approximately the same on the WE knife. Now, why are they different? Somebody's going to ask that question. Well, it's surface finish. We'll look at the Y start right quick. Still got some dots there. Now, I'm not going to say this is D2 in any way, but, you know, the possibility's there. It's rusting at about the same rate. So why do we have what's really less on this WE knife? Well, get a good look at the finish on that WE knife. Here, look at this side that's not been rusted up. Well used, but very shiny finish. And there we go over here, brand new, and we still have a pretty shiny finish, but it's not as fine a finish. They've put it on a surface conditioning belt or a finishing belt of some sort at a lower grit on the bevels. And that's why the WE knife shows a little less rust. Because surface finish, the smoother the surface finish is, the fewer places that the water and the salt can get into. So there you go. I'll clean those two up, and I'll clean that Y start up, I guess. But these two, we're going to spray down again. We're not going to worry about the 8Cr13 one. I'll probably clean it up, but we're not going to worry about it. And these two, spray them down real good again. And I'm going to leave these guys overnight and see if we end up with any rust. Now, why would it be important if they don't rust? Well, on the Walmart knife, if we get very little rust overnight with salt water, that means that, what, $3.97 knife is a superb candidate for putting everywhere, anywhere you need one. Doesn't mean it's going to hold an edge forever, but if you're in that situation where you need it, sharpen this guy up and you've got a $4 knife that you don't have to worry about. It is a great knife? Heck no. Does it have a great action? Not at all. But it's not going to rust, and it's going to cut for a short length of time, but it's going to cut. So if this thing doesn't rust, that puts it as a front runner for that cheap put in every bag you've got in the glove box and everywhere else knife. Anyhow, overnight with these guys, and I'm going to clean the others up. I'll show them to you in the morning with these. Alright, so here we are about 12 hours later, and we do have some rust forming on the El Cheapo knife from Walmart, and we have some rust forming on the 420HC. So let's give them a wipe and see if it comes off. And, there you go. Your 420HC. It's got some water spotting on it, but it's really pretty clean. Little bit of rust there along the swedge where where it probably banged against things. But finish right there. Steel and finish. But finish is a big deal. I can put that thing on the surface conditioning belt, and in a few minutes it's going to look brand new. So let's look at our Walmart knife. Not quite as good here. But there it is, wiped off. So, what did we learn? Well, besides the fact the Walmart knife is pretty much junk, but it may be something you want to put in your packs, spread around, sharpen them up, spread them around everywhere. Because, well, they do their job, and it takes quite an intense amount of salt water to make them rust. So here, I told you I'd show you these after we cleaned them up. Sorry the lighting out here isn't all that great, but hey, it's what we've got. So there's our Spyderco Tenacious all cleaned back up. And there's our Bestech all cleaned back up, so it's still going to make a really nice knife for someone. And even our Y start cleaned up really well. Got my fingerprints all over it, but cleaned up really, really well. Those 3M surface conditioning belts are pretty freaking awesome. Same thing here with our WE knife. We caught them just in time to make them clean up easy. What I'm taking out of this is these two knives have the same steel in them. I trust that WE is giving us D2, absolutely. I trusted the Bestech was giving us D2 as well, but now that we've seen that they rusted at about the same rate, it's the same steel. Slightly different finish, but finish thoroughly affects how a steel will rust. If you have a high polish finish, you have fewer places for that water to get into, or that salt or whatever it is, to cause you problems. So be aware of that. That's why blades with coatings aren't all that bad. I know a lot of people, I don't want the coating, it's going to chip off. Well, WE's coating seems to stay on the blades really, really well. The DLC stay on the blades really, really well, and they really don't affect general cutting performance. Now, we can get in the mode of reviewer, and we can say, well, it's minutely better than or worse than the satin blade. Sure, we can say that, but whenever you're out there on the job, or you're out there and you're processing some firewood, or you're processing a feather stick, does that coating really make a difference? In general, no. So am I telling you to buy coated blades? No, I'm not. What I am going to tell you, though, is if you're dealing with D2, if you're dealing with high carbon steels, getting a coating on that steel, especially a good coating, a good ceramic, a good DLC, a good powder coat, any of those coatings is a great idea for those higher carbon steels, because you do that and you have less fuss with the steel. The only exposed part of the steel you'll have will be the edge or wherever you wear off the coating. And if it's ceramic or DLC or powder coat, it takes a lot to wear those coatings off. So that's what I'm taking out of this. If you have a high carbon steel, don't be afraid of the coatings. Pick out a company that's using good coatings. We know that WE uses good coatings. We know Spyderco uses good coatings. And even the Todd knife and tool knives. I've got some of them coming back. They're going to be ceramic coated. Hopefully that's a great coating. My coater tells me that it's beautiful for knives. We'll see. And it appears after, now here, this is after running it across the surface conditioning belt. And it's a super fine belt, but the coating here on the Bestech knife, if I can get the light on it, it's really tough. But that coating seems to be very good. The surface conditioning belt didn't eat it away, lightened it up right up here where I had to really get into it. So it looks like Bestech's coatings are going to be good as well. Consider that if you're in an environment where you need those coatings. And I know everybody likes that look of the satin blade. Man, it is pretty. But think about the steel you're using. Think about the situation you're going to be in, and think about how much maintenance you want to put into your knives. For me, the coatings can be worth it. I have several coated blades, and I like them. Now, if we're talking about M390, 440C, CTS XHP, and other high chromium, super stainless steels, there's that L something or another that Spyderco has in the Spidey Chef, then those don't need to be coated. But whenever we go back down the scale and we get more carbon in the steel and less chromium, you might want to think about it. Anyhow, guys, it's been fun doing this little rust test. And, I guess it's taken us a long time, well over a year. But we've kind of proven that these little $4 knives from Walmart are probably a good knife to stick in your pack. We've also, I don't know if you can say proven, but we've established that the two steels in these knives are about the same. And we've also established that this company, WE, is probably using whatever steel's available. Now, that may not be true. It's only speculation. But they market D2. And I know in Pete's knife, it did not come up to act like D2 in his rust test or in his cut test. But here, spraying them with salt water, it came up pretty much even with the Bestech and WE knife. So I'm going to say that it's probably a gamble with your WE knife on what steel you're getting. It's probably whatever they happen to have in the factory at the time on some other run of knives for some other company. Anyhow, you guys have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.